What's up, guys? This is Mark from DSGini, and in planning this video for today, well, I committed to doing a video every day for the next 26 days, right? And in planning the video for today, and looking through the accounts, I have a list of about 15 videos so far that I need to do, but I'm kind of fucking annoyed because I saw one of our accounts went below standard. So I figured I will make this video because it happened today and because it's something I've been meaning to cover previously, and it's extremely important, and I haven't found any quality videos on YouTube that cover the same topic, right? So basically what this is about is keeping your eBay account above standard. This could make or break your eBay dropshipping career. All right. So let's get into it. What is eBay selling standard? So as I've written here, eBay selling standard is the basis of which eBay rates all its sellers. This is something that changes every year. So over the past 4 years since I've been in dropshipping, I've seen it change between 4 and 6 times. I couldn't remember off the top of my head 4, but it could be 6 times because I remember 1 year it changed like twice, right? And in order to rate sellers, eBay usually uses something called a defect rate. The defect rate is completely different than customer feedback. And I say that because a lot of new sellers focus on customer feedback, which is public to other buyers, but it's crazy because previously customer feedback had some effect on the defect rate and selling standard, and now it has none. The customer feedback currently has no, as of today, March 14th or whatever, and the last change February 20th, 2016, customer feedback has absolutely no effect on the selling standard and defect rate. Defect rate and selling standard, I would say, is 10 times more important than customer feedback, but the customer feedback is important because buyers look at 99%, 100% of that type of thing. But what is more importantly is what eBay thinks of you, because once you drop below standard, which I'll make a video about what happens below and above standard, you're screwed. But anyway, let's get on. So what is eBay defect rate? eBay defect rate is the rate or the number of transactions that eBay rates as defective, meaning that is a good transaction or bad transaction. Every sale that you make is considered a transaction, and right, so yeah. So what makes a transaction defective? Now, over the years, there have been a lot of things that eBay considered a defect, right? Or makes a transaction defective. But luckily, there are only 2 things that currently make a transaction defective. The first thing is the eBay money back guarantee and PayPal protection cases, meaning just cases that are open on eBay. I'll get into that in the next slide. And then seller-initiated transaction cancellations. And there's another slide following that I'll get into and explain in a second. But what you have to be happy about is that right before last year and the year before, there were like 5 different things and like shipping time and all type of bullshit that affected the defect rate and in turn affected your seller standard. But luckily, there are only 2 main things that you could focus on that wouldn't screw your eBay account up. So the first thing is this eBay money back guarantee and PayPal purchase protection cases closed without seller resolution. I copied that right off the eBay website. But let me just explain what that means. All this means is that any case that is opened by a buyer, whether it's they wanted returned, whether they didn't receive it, whether it got damaged, it was received damaged, whatever cases that are open, it is your responsibility to resolve the case before eBay just decides, hey, you're not dealing with this case, give the buyer back their money. I can't remember the exact time frame that you have. I want to say it's like 5 or 7 days or something. But basically, you have to make sure that, which should be 0. Like, you should never let a case be run to the point where eBay has to just fucking close it, right? You have to, as a seller, I would say you should have no cases that get closed without you dealing with it. So that's why you are required to keep 0.3%. That's 3 out of 1,000 transactions. So you need less than 3 of those to happen out of every 1,000 transactions. Which, so it's obvious that eBay is like, listen, you have a grace period. You shouldn't let this shit happen, right? And in my opinion, I agree with them. So the next thing is seller-initiated transaction cancellation, right? Basically, what that says is you shouldn't be canceling transactions. The only person that should cancel a transaction is the buyer. So eBay wants you to have less than 2% canceled by yourself, right? And what that means is, let's say you have an item for sale as a drop shipper, and when you go to buy it from your supplier, you realize it's out of stock. Whether DSG stuff didn't catch it, whether SKU Grid price checker didn't catch it, they want that the seller have less than 2% canceled transactions by the seller. And on the in eBay, and I'll do another video on this, when you're canceling a transaction, you ask if the buyer wants to cancel it. And that is what you want to choose every time. Now, let's say you sell an item, it goes out of stock, and again, I'll do a video specifically on out of stocks. But let's say you sell an item and it goes out of stock, right? What you want to do is message the buyer. I personally don't tell the buyer that's out of stock. I might say something like, hey, we have like 2 more left, but you realize they were damaged and you're waiting. When you're about to ship it out, you realize it was damaged and you're waiting, blah, blah, blah. Usually the buyer say, okay, forget it, just give me my money back. And now you have the authority to go and cancel it and say the buyer wants to cancel it, right? Whether the buyer gives you a negative feedback or not, with the current standard, that doesn't affect your standard. So you don't have to worry about that. You just have to make sure that when you cancel the transactions, it's canceled because the buyer requested it, right? So it's simple to understand. So in conclusion, as I said before, over the years, understanding the seller rate and defect rate and seller standards and all that type of stuff has been a lot more complicated. Right now, you just have to worry about 2 things: cases and cancellations. And to me, that's amazing, right? That's perfect. So once you focus on those things, whether you deal with it, whether you have a virtual assistant dealing with your customer service, those 2 things are very fucking important. I'll make a video on what happens if your account goes below standard and what you could do about it. I might make it today since I'm in the middle of this shit and I'm annoyed as hell about it. But yeah, so it's gotten a lot easier, guys. You have less to worry about. Just keep on it. Make sure it doesn't happen. And yeah, have a good day. Have a good time selling. If you have any questions, shoot me a message. Subscribe to the channel. There are training videos in the description. Join the DSG team. We're the only team that's just winning. We have maybe like 30 more spaces. There's a $7 for 7-day trial. And yeah, have a good one. Bye-bye.